Marvel Rivals is known for its semi-obscure character picks, but one of the main critiques of this approach is that popular characters, and popular villains especially, always seem to just be on the cutting room floor. But now that we're halfway through August, it's finally time to talk about the mastermind whose intellect is only matched by his mechanical reach, the founder of the Sinister Six, Doctor Octopus. Dr. Otto Gunther Octavius, yes, his middle name is Gunther, was created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko and first appeared in The Amazing Spider-Man number 3 back in 1963. Born in Schenectady, New York, Otto had a very difficult childhood, being raised by an abusive father and an overbearing mother. Favoring science over society, Otto graduated from MIT and began working with the US Atomic Research Center. To do so, Octavius had designed a mechanical harness that was capable of manipulating radioactive material while his body stayed a safe distance away. He used this technology and became known as the best nuclear researcher in the nation. But after an unfortunate accident, the radiation fused this harness onto his spine, granting him the ability to use these tentacles with just his mind. Unfortunately for Otto, his mind was also affected in the process, turning his pursuit of knowledge into one of power. Facing off against Spider-Man in the decades since, Dr. Octopus has become one of Spidey's most iconic foes, and also one of his most iconic variants. Regardless, as the founder of the original team, it would be an absolute crime to not have Doctor Octopus be a part of this Marvel Rivals version of the Sinister Six. In fact, of the 20 different 616 iterations of the team, Otto assembled half of them himself. Even ignoring the Sinister Six, Doc Ock's legacy and recognizability would make him an incredible candidate to add to Marvel Rivals. As discussed, one of the primary goals for building the Sinister Six was designing a capable 2-2-2 lineup. Now that we've reached the fourth member of the team, with Scorpion, Lizard, and Mysterio filling out the Vanguard, Strategist, and Duelist roles respectively, we get to finish the first pair. Doc Ock is often depicted as a portly man, but when you account for his tentacles, the villain really can form quite the imposing figure. In addition to the overall durability and use cases that Doc has for his arms, the Vanguard role seems incredibly fitting. In terms of Doc Ock's starting stats, I did leave his base health a little bit light at 575, but that's really because I wanted to give him such a unique movement style. Similar to my Professor X concept video, Doc Ock has the ability to hover in the air, allowing him to cover more vertical ground than most other heroes, as long as they don't fly. Calculated Swing is Doc Ock's primary attack, and a relatively simple one at that. One by one, Doc Ock will swing one of his arms, dealing a modest amount of damage. With a range similar to Mr. Fantastic's Stretch Punch, this attack doesn't cleave through enemies, but does however generate a resource that is very important to Dr. Octopus's kit, called Material. In order to give you guys context on basically all of Otto's abilities, this attack included, I'll have to go a bit out of order, so today we'll start with his passive, Octavius Engineering. In all of his appearances, Doc Ock's fighting capabilities come from the arms, not the Doctor himself. So, to honor this, his survivability tool is focused around the arms usage. Octavius can have up to 8 pieces of material. A singular piece of material is consumed whenever Dr. Octopus extends, and explicitly extends, one of his tentacles. When he consumes this piece of material, Otto is granted a small amount of bonus health, probably 25. This makes it function very similarly to Thor's Thor Force passive. Material is restored piece by piece when you use specific abilities like Calculated Swing, or when you take certain amounts of damage. Like I said earlier with Doc Ock's unique Traversal method allowing him to hover above the ground, I wanted to see what other movement options I could use with the tentacle's unique telescopic design. As long as Octavius has at least one piece of material available, he can press space to extend his lower tentacles, growing both in vertical height and health. In addition, while nearby certain vertical surfaces, Doc Ock can scale them without needing any extra material by holding the spacebar, much like Penny Parker's wall scaling passive. Octolateral Screen is his first ability. Doc Ock interlocks the tentacles into a familiar shield-like shape that blocks all incoming damage for anyone behind him. Similar to Magneto's Iron Curtain, this is an infinite health shield that will protect indefinitely against any attack, but it technically doesn't go in front of Dr. Octopus. Even though Dr. Octopus isn't technically protected by the shield, he does still gain a heavy damage reduction to keep him alive during this state. It can't really be a Doctor Octopus concept if he's not grabbing somebody and wrapping them up with his tentacles. Tactile Tentacle is my version of this ability, and to be honest, it went through a lot of different variations when I was still making the kit. At one point, it was effectively Hulk's Exile effect, then it was Wolverine's Grab, but now I have it sitting somewhere between Spider-Man's Pull and Devil Dinosaur's Savage Predation. Extend out a tentacle to wrap up one enemy, rendering them stunned and immobile. You might have noticed that whenever Spider-Man makes a pull on either the Thing or Devil Dinosaur, they don't move but still get wrapped up in webs. Rather than moving an enemy around, I thought wrapping them up and keeping them there would be a much more interesting interaction for Doc Ock. The real bonus is the fact that while you have one target grabbed, you can actually press again to fire a second tentacle. In exchange for potentially disabling two enemies simultaneously, the duration of the effect does get reduced when you manage to grab that second foe. Even though I've described Doc Ock as light in terms of his overall health, that doesn't mean he's light on defensive options. Centrifugal Failsafe will extend one tentacle and rapidly spin it to block all frontal damage. Functioning a lot like Orisa's Javelin Spin from Overwatch, this provides basically a second shield, albeit a little bit more of a selfish one. The Octopals are a group of low-level thieves who claim to be Doc Ock reincarnated into 4 separate bodies. Each using one tentacle, they were eventually defeated by the Chipmunk Hunk and Koi Boy, along with the rest of the Squirrel Avengers Initiative. Those names may be meaningless and ridiculous to you, but to Squirrel Girl, they matter. This team-up, Octopal Impersonators, allows Doc Ock to use one ability without using any material and without using a cooldown, just like Squirrel Girl's Mammalian Bond. While enhanced, Telescopic Design no longer consumes any material, but still grants Dr. Octopus the bonus health. Just like the rest of the Sinister Six, Doctor Octopus does have a team-up with one of his other sinister associates. In a lot of the more modern interpretations of Otto, he has a very tenuous relationship with Norman Osborn. In this team-up with the Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus can target a specific area, then he'll extend a tentacle and grapple towards a location, much like Punisher's zipline. Upon arriving to the grappled location, Dr. Octopus will knock back any enemies in the area, improving his overall movement potential. In the enhanced version, much like the Thing and Human Torch team-up, Otto can grapple onto Green Goblin's glider, which improves the zone of impact whenever he does land. When designing Doc Ock's ultimate ability, I really wanted to lean into the fact that Octavius is being controlled by the arms, not the other way around as an outsider would assume. Superior System Override releases full control to the tentacles, letting them swing wildly with amped up damage and a previously absent cleave effect. Also, rather than having every fourth attack generate extra material, it attempts to grab a foe instead, holding them in place as if Dr. Octopus had just used Tactile Tentacle. Like the rest of the Sinister Six, Doctor Octopus has been around for 60 plus years, so there's really a lot of different skins or costume options that you could put for him if he does get into a game like this. While there almost certainly will be the Spider-Man 2 look inspired by Alfred Molina, I do also think that there are a couple other, more unique options. A personal pick that I would really like to see is actually the Iron Lung kind of look that he was living in after Civil War. It really beefs up his silhouette, so I think he could definitely sell that Vanguard look a little bit more than his usual duds. The art you've been looking at this entire video was drawn by Corey Harris. You can find him at Lord Deppis on Twitter, and I just want to say, this is absolutely brilliant. I love how it mixes both the original green and yellow bodysuit and that trench coat from Spider-Man 2. It's just a wonderful mix of both things, and I do also really like the look of the tentacles overall. So don't be afraid to check them out. This design was really fun for me to come up with. I've always liked Doctor Octopus, although he isn't my personal favorite Spider-Man villain. I always found his power set incredibly unique, so I did want to lean into that a bit. This is definitely the most main tank of any tank design that I've ever done, especially considering the fact that he effectively has Magneto's shield and then a smaller version of the Magneto shield. I'm hoping that the material resources needed to play Dr. Octopus do offer a bit more of an engaging playstyle for those who don't just want to sit back and hold the shield. Let me know what you thought of this design in the comments section down below, and let me know who you think I should do after the Sinister Six. Technically, the final members video won't actually come out until September, so we do have a bit of time, but just in case, I want to know who you guys are interested in seeing once we're done with this group. As always, if you're interested in supporting me beyond just liking the video or subscribing, consider becoming a YouTube member. You join this great group of Marvel allies and you get a bunch of cool benefits that I'm showing on the screen right now, including be a part of these special shoutouts at the end of the video. So with all that sinisterly said and done, I'll see you guys next week.